Welcome back, GrimFace family, and to anyone joining us for the first time, welcome to the movement. I want to take a moment to thank all of you for your relentless drive and commitment to mastering your financial fate. Whether you've been with us since the beginning, or you're just stepping into the darkness, know this: you're not here by accident. The path to financial power isn't for the faint of heart, but if you're ready to face the truth, take control, and fight for your future, then you're in the right place. This is more than just a channel. It's a mindset. It's about rejecting mediocrity, tearing through the illusions of comfort, and demanding the wealth and control that are rightfully yours. So, whether you're a returning viewer or a fresh face, welcome to GrimFace. Stay with us, and let's carve out the financial freedom you've always known you deserve. Lesson 1. The Awakening of Financial Intelligence. You've been walking through life, thinking you've had it all figured out. Numbers, finances, those things are for the accountants, right? But let me ask you this. Have you ever stopped to truly question the life you're living? The choices you're making? The success you're chasing? And most importantly, who's controlling your path? The harsh truth is, you've been blindfolded by ignorance. Ignorance that keeps you from the most powerful weapon you could ever wield: financial intelligence. It's the difference between drowning in the chaos of your own choices or rising above it all, standing tall with absolute control over your future. If you're not looking at your financial statements like they are your personal battle maps, you're losing the war. Your balance sheet, your income statement, your cash flow, those aren't just numbers. Those are the bones of your empire. Each figure is a soldier in your army, working for or against you. When you don't understand them, you are at the mercy of those who do. But here's the real question. Do you even want control? Or are you content being a pawn in someone else's game? Because that's what ignorance gets you. It keeps you small. It keeps you in the dark, always guessing, always hoping, never truly knowing. Do you feel that? The suffocating weight of uncertainty? That's your reality right now if you don't choose to awaken. Choose to face the cold, brutal truth. Your financial life is a war zone. And if you don't arm yourself with the knowledge of how to read and use the language of business, you are already defeated. But here's the gift. Right now, you're standing on the edge of something monumental. The key to breaking free is simple. Start by understanding the foundation: financial intelligence. Not as an abstract concept, but as a weapon. Your weapon. And right now, this moment is your turning point. Open your eyes. Start learning how to read those financial statements, how to interpret the balance sheet, how to understand what's really happening in your business. There are no shortcuts. There is no easy road. But with financial intelligence, you will carve your own path, step by painful step, until you control every decision, every risk, every opportunity that comes your way. You either step into the light now, or you let the darkness consume you forever. What will it be? Lesson 2. The power of financial statements. You've been told that numbers are just numbers, that they don't mean anything unless you make them mean something. But let me tell you this. Those numbers, those cold, calculated figures, they are the truth, staring you down in the face. They expose everything: your strengths, your weaknesses, your potential, and your failures. If you ignore them, if you choose to remain blind to what they're telling you, you're walking through your life like a puppet, controlled by forces you don't even see. Financial statements are the heartbeat of every business, the raw pulse that tells you whether you're alive or on the verge of death. Ignore them, and you'll never truly know if you're thriving or slowly bleeding out in silence. If you can't read them, if you don't know what they're saying to you, then you are nothing but a passenger in your own existence, watching from the sidelines as others drive the car. The balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow statement, they are not optional. They are not abstract ideas. They are your lifeline. The balance sheet, with its assets, liabilities, and equity, this is your foundation. If you don't understand it, you're walking on unstable ground, unaware that you're one wrong move away from collapse. Every asset you own is a weapon. Every liability is a potential trap waiting to catch you. Equity is your shield, your protection. If you don't know how to use them, you're standing in the middle of a battlefield with no armor. And then there's the income statement, the story of your survival. It tells you what's coming in, what's going out, and where the blood is being drained from your body. Revenue is your power. Expenses are your enemies. Net income is the proof of your triumph or your failure. Can you see the pattern? Can you understand what's truly at stake here? Cash flow? It's not just about money. It's about survival. Without cash, you're dead in the water. You cannot grow, you cannot expand, and you cannot seize the opportunities life throws your way. No cash, no life. Simple as that. So here's your reality check. You are standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down into the abyss of ignorance. Those financial statements are the rope that can pull you back, or they're the chains that will drag you down. The choice is yours. Do you have the courage to face them? To confront the truth they expose? Do you have the strength to learn how to read them? How to see the signals they're sending? How to interpret their language of survival? Or will you continue to live in the dark, vulnerable, unaware, and at the mercy of those who do? This is where it begins. This is where the battle starts. Don't shy away from it. Master these financial statements. They are the keys to the kingdom. Use them, own them, and let them lead you to victory, or be crushed beneath them. The choice is yours. Lesson 3. The balance sheet. The foundation of your empire. Look around you. Every successful empire, every great business, every powerhouse you admire started with one thing: a foundation. But what is a foundation? It's the structure that holds everything together, the invisible force that keeps the chaos from swallowing everything whole. The balance sheet is that foundation. Without understanding it, you're building on quicksand. You've been told that your assets are your assets. But do you really know what that means? Do you understand the power behind those figures? Or are you just listing things off as if they don't matter? Those assets, whether tangible or intangible, are your weapons. They are the tools you use to fight the war. But here's the dark truth. Without knowing exactly how to use them, they are just weight, dragging you down. Liabilities. Everyone wants to ignore them. Everyone tries to forget about them. But those liabilities, those are your enemies, stalking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Every debt, every obligation, every financial chain is a shackle keeping you in a state of servitude, and you don't even know it. The moment you ignore your liabilities, the moment you let them grow unchecked, you become a slave to your own creation. Equity, the one thing standing between you and ruin. Equity is the proof that you've survived, the shield you wield against the forces that want to tear you down. It's the buffer between you and the abyss. But understand this: if you don't nurture it, if you let your liabilities outweigh your equity, you will be crushed beneath the weight. You are only as strong as the balance between these forces. This is the truth of the balance sheet. It's not just a snapshot of your financials. It's a mirror. It shows you exactly where you stand in relation to your empire, how strong you are, and how much danger you're in. The assets are your power. The liabilities are your danger. The equity is your chance for survival. You cannot afford to be ignorant. You cannot afford to turn a blind eye. Every single number on that balance sheet is a reflection of your ability to control, to dominate, or to fall into the depths of failure. Your success depends on how well you understand this balance, the delicate equation that keeps your empire from crumbling. If you cannot read it, you will be swept away. If you do not respect it, you will drown. But if you master it, if you know the true meaning behind each asset, liability, and piece of equity, you will stand unshaken. You will know exactly where you stand, where the weaknesses are, and how to fortify your empire. The balance sheet is your reality check. Look at it closely. Understand it. Because the truth is, if you can't control your balance sheet, you can't control anything. The war begins here. Will you rise, or will you crumble under the weight of your own ignorance? Lesson 4. The income statement. The bloodline of your business. You've been living in the illusion that revenue is all that matters, that profits will magically appear, that your hard work will pay off without you truly understanding the cost of it all. But here's the harsh reality. The income statement doesn't lie. It's the story of your business, the narrative you can't hide from, no matter how much you wish you could. The income statement isn't just a list of numbers. It's a battlefield where every dollar earned is a soldier, every expense a deadly enemy, and the ultimate goal is simple: survival. Profit isn't just a number on a page. It's a measure of your ability to stay in the fight, to endure, to thrive in a world designed to crush the weak. Look at revenue. How much is coming in? Sounds simple, right? But that's only the beginning. Are you really making money? Or are you fooling yourself with vanity metrics? Because if your revenue isn't turning into profit, you're in a war you're destined to lose. You can sell as much as you want, but if your costs are eating you alive, you're only digging a deeper hole. Cost of goods sold. This is where the real bloodshed happens. It's the price of survival. Every dollar you spend on creating your product or service is a sacrifice. COGS will drain your lifeblood if you let it. If you're not controlling these costs, if you're not constantly challenging them, your business is bleeding out slowly, and you won't even know it until it's too late. And then there are operating expenses, the silent assassins: rent, salaries, utilities, marketing. These things are necessary, but they are costs. Every expense you have is a liability that must be managed with cold, ruthless precision. If you're not watching every dollar spent, if you're not constantly questioning each expenditure, you're giving the enemy an advantage. At the end of the day, the income statement reveals one truth: your ability to create value for others and extract profit from it. The gross profit is your strength, your weapon. It tells you whether you're fighting a battle you can win or one that's draining you dry. But that's just part of the picture. Net income, the final number, it's the ultimate measure of your success or failure. It's the proof that you fought the good fight and come out on top. But don't be fooled. That net income isn't handed to you. It's earned. It's a reflection of every decision you make, every dollar you spend, and every choice you make in the war against the forces that want to destroy you. You must look at your income statement with the eyes of a warrior, not a fool. Understand every line, every figure, every dollar that passes through your hands. If you do not, you will become a casualty, just another statistic in the long list of businesses that didn't make it. This is not a game. This is survival. If you are not ruthlessly monitoring your income statement, then you're already losing. If you're not driving towards higher revenues and lower costs, you're surrendering without a fight. You cannot afford to be ignorant here. This is where your life, your business, and your future are written. So face it. Confront the income statement with the brutal clarity it demands. Own it, control it, and let it show you how to win. Because if you don't, the reality will hit harder than you can imagine. And by then, it will be too late. Lesson 5. The cash flow statement. Life or death. You think you have time. You think you can keep putting off the inevitable, living paycheck to paycheck, barely scraping by. But here's the truth that will shatter your illusions. Cash is life. Without it, you are nothing but a walking corpse, suffocating slowly, desperately grasping for air. The cash flow statement is your lifeline, the single most important document you will ever encounter. Ignore it, and you die. Understand it, and you thrive. The operating cash flow. This is where the war is won or lost. Forget what you see on your income statement. It doesn't matter how much revenue you bring in or how great your profits look on paper. If cash isn't flowing through your business, you're not in business. Cash is the oxygen that keeps your company alive. Without it, you cannot pay your employees. You cannot buy the materials you need. You cannot seize opportunities. You are dead in the water. Operating activities, the heart of your business. This is where the pulse beats. Are your operations generating cash? Or are you just running in circles, accumulating debt, and burning through resources? If you're not generating cash from your core activities, every step you take is a step closer to disaster. But it's not just the operating cash flow that matters. The investing activities section, that's where the vultures circle. The investments you make today will either bring you wealth or lead you to your grave. Do you understand the risks? Do you know if your investments are actually working for you, or if they're draining you dry? Every dollar you invest has the potential to build an empire, or it can be the noose around your neck. And then there's the financing section. This is where the blood starts to spill. Borrowing money, issuing equity. It's a dangerous game. You take on debt, and you better be sure you can repay it. Fail to manage your financing properly, and it will crush you. Those loans, those equity raises, they will bleed you dry if you don't know how to handle them. The cash flow statement is not a suggestion. It is a warning. It tells you if you are alive or dead, if you are winning or losing. If you ignore it, you're burying yourself alive, unaware of the grave you're digging. The moment you lose control of your cash flow, you lose control of your destiny. This is where the rubber meets the road. You must understand the flow of cash in and out of your business. You must watch it like a hawk, because if you don't, the tide will shift, and you will drown. You don't have time to waste. This is a fight for survival. Look at your cash flow statement with ruthless precision. Identify the problems. Track the money. Cut out the waste. Bring in the cash, and keep it flowing. Do not allow yourself to become complacent or distracted. If you want to thrive, you must master your cash flow. Anything less, and you're already dead. The battle is right here, right now. Cash flow is your blood, your breath, your heartbeat. If you don't control it, it will control you. And in this war, the weak don't survive. Lesson 6. The power of profitability ratios. Seeing beyond the surface. You've been tricked into believing that profits alone determine success. That if the numbers look good, you're on the right track. But let me warn you, profits lie. They can mask the truth, hide the weakness, and lull you into a false sense of security. You cannot afford to live in the illusion of profitability. You need to see deeper, past the surface level, into the heart of your business. That's where profitability ratios come in. Profitability ratios are your diagnostic tools. They are the instruments that cut through the fat and expose the truth about the efficiency of your operations. They tell you how well you're converting your efforts into profit. Without them, you're operating blindly, making decisions based on assumptions, not reality. Return on assets, ROA. This is the cold, hard measure of how well you're using your assets to generate profits. How efficiently are you using what you own? Every machine, every building, every dollar invested. Are they pulling their weight, or are they dead weight? If you're not achieving a solid ROA, then you're wasting resources. And in this battle, wasted resources equal death. Return on equity, ROE. This is the mirror that reflects the true strength of your business. How well are you leveraging your equity to generate profit? If your ROE is low, it's a clear signal. You're not using your equity effectively. You're not extracting the value that's rightfully yours. And if you can't wield your equity like a weapon, you will find yourself swallowed by competitors who know how to turn every ounce of equity into a fortress. Profit margin, the simplest, yet one of the most brutal metrics. It tells you how much profit you're squeezing out of every dollar of revenue. You think a high revenue means you're winning? Think again. A high revenue with a low profit margin is a ticking time bomb. It's like a huge, glaring target, telling the world that while you may be big, you're also fragile. And then there's the operating profit margin. This tells you if your business model is sound. Are you efficiently managing your core operations, or are inefficiencies draining your potential? If you're not watching your operating profit margin closely, you are handing your competitors the advantage, and that is a fatal mistake. This isn't about surviving, it's about thriving. These ratios are the war plans. They're the maps that show you where to strike and where to defend. They give you the clarity to make decisions that will either move you forward or leave you buried beneath the rubble of your own failure. The moment you ignore these ratios is the moment you've already lost. Profitability isn't just about the size of the number at the end of the month. It's about how well you're executing the plan. You either use these ratios to your advantage, or they will expose your vulnerabilities and your weaknesses for the world to see. You have two choices: to embrace these ratios and gain a strategic advantage, or to continue living in the fog, where everything looks fine until it's too late. If you choose the latter, prepare for the consequences. But if you choose to master them, you will gain an edge that most businesses will never know. This is how empires are built. This is how wars are won. Lesson 7. The danger of overleveraging. The tightrope of debt. You've seen it. The allure of borrowing money, taking on debt, thinking you can use it to fuel your growth, expand faster, and seize opportunities that would otherwise be out of reach. Debt is seductive. It promises power. It promises speed. But let me be clear about something. Debt is a weapon. If you wield it without understanding its full power, it will destroy you. Debt is not your friend. It's a ticking time bomb, and you must know exactly how to handle it, or it will turn on you when you least expect it. Overleveraging is the art of borrowing too much. The moment you take on more debt than your business can handle, you are walking a tightrope. One wrong move, one small misstep, and you fall into the abyss. This is not a risk worth taking. The weight of excessive debt will drag you down, pulling you further and further into the darkness, suffocating your ability to breathe, to grow, to survive. The leverage ratio tells you how much debt you're carrying in relation to your equity. But this isn't just a number, it's a warning sign. If your leverage ratio is too high, you're one bad decision away from collapse. Every time you take on debt, you're gambling with your future. The higher your leverage, the higher the risk. It's like playing with fire. You can control it for a while, but eventually, it will burn you. The danger isn't just in the amount of debt you take on, it's in the terms. Are you getting the kind of debt that allows you to breathe, that gives you space to grow and recover? Or are you shackled to high interest rates, tight repayment schedules, and impossible conditions that are designed to drown you? Let's get one thing straight. Debt is not a free pass to success. It's a chain, a weight that keeps you anchored to the ground, unless you know how to make it work for you. If you're not managing your debt carefully, if you're not looking at your leverage ratio with ruthless precision, then you are courting disaster. Look at your debt obligations. Do they make sense? Are you in control of them, or are they in control of you? If you're over-leveraged, every dollar you make, every opportunity you seize, will go straight to paying off that debt. And one day, when you can't make that payment, when you've stretched yourself too thin, everything will come crashing down. Over-leveraging is the silent killer. It hides behind the veil of opportunity, whispering promises of growth and success. But it's a trap, and once you fall into it, there's no easy way out. You will be drowning in payments, drowning in interest, and slowly watching everything you've built slip through your fingers. You need to understand this. Debt can be a tool, but it can just as easily become your downfall. It's not about how much you can borrow. It's about how well you manage it. If you can't keep your leverage in check, you are playing a game you cannot win. The moment you realize you're too deep in debt, too over-leveraged, is the moment you start losing control. Don't let that moment come. Recognize the danger before it's too late. Understand the tightrope you're walking, and know that it can break at any time if you're not paying attention. This is the lesson you can't afford to ignore. Debt is not freedom. It is responsibility. Handle it poorly, and it will be your undoing. If you don't master it, you'll fall. It's as simple as that. The choice is yours. Will you control your debt, or will it control you? Lesson 8. The dark truth of cash reserves, the shield against disaster. You think you're fine. You've got your revenue flowing. Your business is running smoothly. The world is watching as you climb the ladder of success. But here's the harsh reality you refuse to acknowledge. Life doesn't give you a warning. The storm will come. It always does. And when it hits, if you haven't prepared, you will drown in the wreckage. This is the truth you need to understand. Cash reserves are not a luxury. They are your survival kit. They are your shield against the unknown, your buffer when everything goes wrong. You may think you're invincible now, that you can weather any storm. But if you don't have a strong reserve, you will find yourself on the front lines of disaster with no way out. Cash reserves are not just some extra padding you put away for a rainy day. They are the difference between life and death in your business. If you think you can survive by relying on your revenue alone, you are setting yourself up for failure. Revenue does not equal security. Cash flow comes and goes. The moment that cash flow stops, when the market shifts, when a competitor steals your edge, when a client cancels a massive contract, you will have nothing left to protect you. The minimum cash reserve ratio, the amount you should have stashed away to cover unexpected downturns, to survive the lean months, is not something to take lightly. It's a number you can't afford to ignore. If your reserves are too low, you are walking on the edge of a cliff, and the slightest gust of wind could send you plummeting into oblivion. You cannot survive the storm with a shattered shield. The question you need to ask yourself is this: do you have enough cash to withstand a crisis? Are you prepared to lose clients, suppliers, or entire revenue streams? Can you keep your operations running if the market crashes? If unforeseen events force you into a corner? If the answer is no, then you're already living on borrowed time. Let me make this clear. No matter how strong your business appears to be today, no matter how well your profits are rolling in, it can all disappear in an instant. One bad decision, one economic shift, one crisis, and you will be left exposed. You will find yourself scrambling for the cash you don't have, bleeding out while the world moves on. You cannot predict the future. You cannot control everything, but you can control your cash reserves. They are the last line of defense, the thing that keeps you from falling apart when everything else crumbles. If you think you can skate by without them, you are playing a dangerous game with your future. And when the storm hits, You will be left helpless, hoping for a miracle. But here's the real kicker. It's too late to prepare once disaster strikes. If you haven't built up your reserves by then, you will be fighting a losing battle. You need to be putting aside cash now, when you still have the chance. Every dollar you set aside is a dollar that could save your business when you need it most. The truth is brutal, but necessary. Cash reserves are the difference between being a survivor and being a casualty. Without them, you're naked in the face of a hurricane, exposed to forces that will tear you apart. With them, you stand firm, no matter what happens, no matter what the world throws at you. This is not about planning for success. It's about preparing for failure. Success is fleeting. The storm is inevitable. Will you have the cash reserves to survive it? Or will you become just another casualty of a business world that devours the unprepared? The choice is yours. Build your reserves, or you will fall. There is no middle ground. Prepare or perish. Lesson 9. The Profitability Trap. When growth becomes your enemy. You think growth is the answer, don't you? That the more you scale, the more success you'll achieve, the more revenue you'll pull in, the more your business will thrive. Everyone tells you that bigger is better, that success is measured by how much you grow. But here's the truth they won't tell you. Growth can be a trap, a deadly one. Growth is seductive. It whispers promises of untold riches, of dominance in the market. But what it doesn't tell you is that every inch you grow, every new client you bring in, every new product or service you add to your roster requires a cost. More customers means more responsibilities. More products means more inventory, more logistics, more management. More employees means more overhead, more complications, more chaos. And the bigger you get, the harder it becomes to manage the beast you've created. Here's the problem with that constant chase for growth. It blinds you. It blinds you to the fact that scaling without a plan is like running full speed toward a cliff. You're moving fast, but you're heading straight for disaster. You can't scale without considering profitability. You can't expand without understanding the true cost of it all. If you ignore the bottom line in favor of top-line revenue, you're feeding your business to the wolves. As you grow, you face a deadly paradox. The more you expand, the more your costs increase, and the more difficult it becomes to keep profits flowing. It's the profitability trap, and far too many businesses fall into it. They grow too fast, overextend themselves, and lose sight of what really matters. Sustainable, profitable growth. Your margins will begin to thin. Your expenses will skyrocket. And what happens when you can't manage those costs? You'll find yourself in the red, bleeding money, unable to slow down or reverse course. At that point, you're not a growing business. You're a sinking ship, trying desperately to stay afloat as the weight of your own expansion drags you under. You need to understand this. Growth without profitability is suicide. If you're expanding without controlling your margins, your overhead, your costs, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're scaling up a house of cards, and all it takes is one gust of wind for it to come crashing down. There's another side to this: overexpansion. If you grow too quickly, you lose your ability to maintain the quality of your product or service. You start cutting corners to meet demand. You overextend your resources, and your operations start to fall apart. One day, your customers will notice the drop in quality. They'll see the cracks in the foundation, and when that happens, you lose trust. And when you lose trust, you lose everything. The cold, hard truth. Growth is a double-edged sword. The key is not just to grow, it's to grow in a way that sustains your profitability. You cannot just chase numbers. You must chase sustainable, controlled growth that enhances your bottom line, not destroys it. Stop focusing on the illusion of endless growth. Start focusing on the right kind of growth. Know your limits. Know your costs. Know your capacity. The most successful businesses aren't the ones that grow the fastest. They're the ones that grow the smartest. They expand, but they expand with precision, with careful planning, and with a relentless focus on maintaining their profitability. Growth can be your greatest weapon, or it can be your downfall. If you don't manage it with cold, ruthless precision, it will consume you. It's not the growth that will kill you. It's your inability to manage it. Scale without control, and you'll find yourself trapped in a cycle of never-ending costs and diminishing returns. You have a choice. Keep chasing the false promise of unchecked growth, or understand the true cost of scaling, and use it to build something real. Because if you don't, the very thing you thought would make you successful will be the thing that brings you to your knees. Lesson 10. The bottom line. Mastering your business with relentless control. Let's face it, you've been living a lie. All the numbers, all the strategies, all the metrics, they mean nothing if you don't have control over the most important element of all, your bottom line. The true measure of your business is not in your top-line revenue, not in your growth rate, not in your flashiest marketing campaign. It's in the profit you retain after all the noise fades away. And here's the brutal truth. You don't have control over your business if you don't control your bottom line. If you think it's just about generating revenue, you are sleepwalking toward disaster. If you can't consistently convert revenue into actual profit, you're nothing but a pawn in a game you'll lose. And eventually, that game will end with your company buried in the ground. The bottom line is the battlefield where every dollar earned is fought for, every expense is scrutinized, and every decision must be made with precision. If you're not looking at your bottom line like a hawk, you're already dead. Every cost, every move, every decision must be aligned with one singular goal: maximizing profit. If you're playing for anything else, you're setting yourself up to be consumed by your own ignorance. You cannot afford to operate in a world where you aren't relentlessly obsessed with your margins. Gross profit margin, operating profit margin, net profit margin. Each of these tells you if you're truly in control or if you're letting your business slip away from you. Don't just look at the numbers. Feel them. Understand them. Let them dictate your decisions. If you can't maintain control of your margins, your destiny will be controlled by forces outside your grasp, forces you cannot fight. Here's the point of no return. You either master your bottom line, or your bottom line will destroy you. Every decision you make, how much you spend, how much you save, where you allocate your resources, must be made with the ruthless clarity of someone who understands that every dollar wasted could be the one that sinks your ship. It's not about more revenue, it's about more profit. You need to start thinking about how to extract maximum value from every transaction, every client, every sale. It's the art of squeezing the life out of your business operations to ensure that nothing is left on the table. If you're not squeezing out every penny, someone else will, and you'll be left with nothing but empty promises. The truth is, a business that cannot generate consistent profit is a business on borrowed time. Without a firm grip on the bottom line, you will find yourself trapped in a cycle of debt, desperation, and decline. The longer you ignore your profit, the faster you spiral into a pit you'll never escape from. Your bottom line is not a statistic. It is the only thing that matters. The blood running through your business's veins. It is what keeps you alive, what keeps you strong, and what enables you to grow, expand, and dominate. If you don't protect it with everything you have, your business will turn to ash. So, ask yourself, are you in control of your bottom line, or is your business controlling you? Are you ruthlessly pursuing profitability, or are you content to let the chaos of the world dictate your fate? The truth is, your destiny is sealed by how well you manage this one thing. The bottom line will either be your savior or your executioner. There is no middle ground here. You control the bottom line, or the bottom line controls you. Choose wisely. That's it for today, GrimFace family. Remember, the journey to true financial power is not for the weak. It's for those willing to face the darkness, to fight for their future, and to take control of their destiny. If you're ready to keep pushing, to keep learning, and to rise above the chaos, then hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it with those who need to hear the truth. The movement's just getting started. Keep your mind sharp, your strategy sharper, and always, never settle. Until next time, stay relentless, stay ruthless, and keep building your empire. GrimFace out.